In 1885, King Leopold II of Belgium claimed the Congo as his personal property. He called it the Congo Free State, promising to bring civilization and Christianity. But the reality was far darker. Under his rule, millions were enslaved, forced to harvest rubber and ivory under brutal conditions. The horror was so profound that Joseph Conrad wrote Heart of Darkness, and even he couldn't capture the full extent of the atrocity. This is the story of the darkest chapter of the Scramble for Africa. The Scramble for Africa began in earnest at the Berlin Conference of 1884–85, where 13 European nations carved up the African continent. But one man's ambition dwarfed the others, King Leopold II of Belgium. Leopold wanted glory, but Belgium was too small. So he claimed the Congo as his personal property, and the Congo Free State was born. Leopold presented himself as a humanitarian, promising to end the slave trade and bring progress. But behind the mask, he was a predator. The Congo's resources, rubber and ivory, fueled the Industrial Revolution, and the profits flowed directly into Leopold's pockets. To extract them, he created a brutal regime of forced labor, governed by a private army known as the Force Publique. The methods used were barbaric. Villages were held hostage. If they didn't meet rubber quotas, their women and children were taken. Harsh punishments were inflicted to maintain the terror. The exploitation was systematic, and the human cost was staggering. Some estimates suggest that up to half of the population died under Leopold's rule, millions of people, victims of a system of industrial-scale theft and violence. The horror was documented by missionaries and explorers, and it shocked the world. In 1902, Joseph Conrad published Heart of Darkness, a novella set in Leopold's Congo. It was fiction, but it was rooted in truth. The story follows Marlowe, a European sailor, who travels up the Congo River to meet a colonial administrator, and his encounter with the greed and brutality of the ivory trade. The phrase, "The horror! The horror!" became a rallying cry against the atrocities. The international outcry forced Leopold to relinquish control. In 1908, the Belgian government annexed the Congo, creating the Belgian Congo. But the damage was done. The forced labor system didn't end overnight, and the wounds of that period still bleed today. Leopold's rule was one of the most brutal colonial regimes in history, a stain on Belgium's legacy that has never fully been washed away. The transition from the Congo Free State to the Belgian Congo was supposed to bring reform. But in reality, the forced labor system continued in different forms. The Congolese people had been broken, their society destroyed, their resources stolen. The Belgian government inherited a system of exploitation that would continue for decades, and the wounds of Leopold's rule would fester for generations. But here is the question that remains: why did no one stop Leopold sooner? The atrocities were known for years, but they were ignored, or accepted, by the world. The colonial powers of Europe, already deep in the scramble for Africa, turned a blind eye. And as the independent nations of Africa struggled for freedom, the legacy of Leopold's Congo was left to poison the continent. Was the scramble for Africa simply the final conquest of the dark continent? Or was it the beginning of a darkness that still lingers today?